All right, so once we have, don't forget that, make sure you select your delimited. And you can hit finish now, but we're not going to do that. We want to go through each step and make sure it sets up correctly. So we're going to hit next. It's going to take us to a new window. And then these are our delimiters. This is what I was talking about earlier. This is how you select what you want, how you want your columns to be separated. Since we set it up to be separated by commas, we're going to select the comma box. And it'll give you a preview. You can see the preview right here. And it'll tell you exactly where your columns are going to lie. So if something doesn't look right, you can change it here. Once you have your comma selected, we're going to hit next again. And this is a way you can change the format of your data. And Excel is really good at recognizing things like percentages and dates and currency and all this other stuff. And right now it's actually prompting us to say, hey, we know that this column right here, this highlighted column, is a date. Do you want to change it to a different date format? Our timestamp on these instruments aren't working. They're not up to date. They don't auto-update yet. So I'm going to ignore this part for now. We don't really need it. And we're going to hit finish. And this is our data. So who's savvy in Excel? Who's used Excel a lot? So we have, all right, so mostly rookies in here? Okay. So I'm gonna try and teach you guys some shortcuts along the way. The thing with Excel, there's multiple ways to do the same thing. So just because I'm telling you it can be done one way doesn't mean there's not multiple ways to do it. But I'll try and give you the best shortcuts as well. And if any of you guys are going into STEM fields, I highly encourage you to pay attention to anything that involves Excel because it'll save your life in university.
And when he says STEM, he means science, technology, engineering, or math.
Correct. All right. So one of the things that Excel will do is it'll auto size your columns. And if you notice, we have all these little hashtags in there. So you can, if you hover between the A and B column, you get this black arrow or a black line with an arrow on either side. And this is how you adjust your column width. So you can actually manually drag it to how wide you want that column. The other way you can do is if you double click it with that icon, it'll auto size it for you. So this is just a little shortcut if you have a lot of columns, which if you're going to be a STEM major, you will eventually have huge spreadsheets. So this is a way to kind of make everything just easily readable. And this right here is our data, right? These are all of our data points. You can see it doesn't look like a whole lot now. So we're going to put this into a graph, and we're going to get a graphical representation of what our data look like. So to do that, oh wait, hold on, I'll wait. Is everyone here? Does everyone have their data pulled up and they can see all the numbers and nothing looks funky?
Is anyone not here?
Better, that's a better question. You've been teaching
It only
longer.
took me 6 years of figuring that question out.
All right.
Everybody's at this point. There's nobody that's not here. Okay.
Okay. All right. So I forget your name. I'm sorry, but I saw your file. You had a lot of zeros on there, right? Yeah. So one of the clear cases broke last week. I replaced it yesterday morning. But if you have a lot of if you have a lot of zeros in your data set, you may want to reconsider using that data set, which means you may want to redo that sample. We are going to groom some of our data. Like for example, when you start the instrument, it takes a while for the fan to spin up and actually pull the correct volume through the instrument to make it accurate. So those typical first couple minutes of data, we usually just shear off. We can also do this thing called outlier tests, and I can teach all this stuff in the future, but right now we'll just focus on the Excel stuff. So once we have our data groomed and ready to go, we want to highlight it, and after we highlight it, we're going to tell Excel to graph it. And there's a couple ways you can highlight it. You can do it manually by just clicking and dragging all the way down, and Excel is pretty good about anticipating when you're going to want to stop, so it'll slow down towards the end of the column. There's also a cheat way to do it. I use the term hotkeys. Hotkeys are combinations of keys on the keyboard that shortcut to a specific function, like Control V, Control C, Control X. I'm sure you guys know all that. Copy, paste, cut, and all that stuff. Those are hotkeys. Anybody know what that stands for, by the way? X, V, and C for the control functions. Yeah, but why is copy, paste, Control V?
Copy.
Control V stands for verbatim. It means copy verbatim exactly what you selected. Control C is copy. Copies, or yeah, so paste, yeah, I'm sorry, is cut. Control C is copy. Control V is paste verbatim. So it takes exactly what you have in that cell and pastes it. So they actually do stand for things. All right, so the hotkey for this is if you hit Control and Shift on your keyboard, and you use your arrow keys, it'll automatically select everything to the next empty cell. All right, and cells in Excel are, like this right here is cell E2. It's in column E and row 2. So if I say go to cell A1, it just means go to the very top left cell, right? So you want to select your A1 cell and hit Control Shift, and if you hit the right key, it'll select everything to the right until the next empty box, the next empty cell. If you hit down while holding Control Shift, it'll select everything over and down to the next empty cell. All right, and this is an easy way to select all of your data. If you run it, remember this thing collects data points every second. So if you run this thing for a couple hours, you're gonna have thousands of data points, right? So you don't want to have to go through and manually drag and drop all this stuff. So it's easier to use that Control Shift and the arrow keys. Those are hotkeys, all right? All right, once you have your data selected, all right, so select cell A1.